Well, a quick story here. That yesterday, I mean, there's always something going on in my industrial park area where I am residing. Basically doing security for a buddy of mine on his body shop, and there's always excitement there. And a young lady on a bike fell off her bike and cracked her ankle and skinned up her knee. She just did a tumble on the pavement, and I didn't hear it, but I heard her crying. So I go out there and oh my God, it was a mess. And so, unfortunately, some of these kids are got ankle monitors on them. So I says, well, you got to go to the hospital. So I says, let me just stay there. And I tried to get her shoes off and whatever. And long story short, I put her in the back of the truck, but she did not want to go to the hospital because she needed to be back at her. We have a homeless camp about 2 blocks away from here. She said, just take me back to my tent because when she fell off the bike, it broke off her ankle monitor. And that would, I guess, sound some kind of alarm downtown. And I guess the cops would have to go up there to check and see if she's where she's supposed to be in her curfew. Long story short, I got her back over there, and I, had to, leave her with her friends and stuff like that, and at her tent and everything else. But I mean, this just goes on. Night crawlers at night after 12 o'clock, making noises, howling at the moon and whatever they're doing. There's a lot of mental illness. Anyways, that's why I'm up here. So I try to help where I can, and be there to do security, but also, to make sure that everything kind of runs smooth and people are safe as they can be. Yeah. Twice a week, I get my steps in. Good for you. Yeah, as long as we stay active and busy. I don't care, how old you are, as long as you stay active and busy. Yep. And that gets you moving around a little bit, and the sunshine is really helping everybody out there. The sun is a food, okay? It's a food we need. We need this food. This is why they tried to, cloud things over, and, that little sweater wearing, what's his name? I can't even remember. The little guy with the glasses. Anyways, Billy Boy. Yeah, Billy Boy. He's, that's why he always tried to do the weather manipulation along. He was working with the CCP at the time to try to put cloud over everybody and keep the sun off of our skin. So, yeah, and that's all coming to an end. We finally got control of everything. But there's some bad news out there, especially for the Canadians. There's a guy out there, and I just want to say to everybody, because all these things keep popping up in my head. Do not listen to all the negative. I don't care if the guy comes in a suit and tie and he's got, thousands and thousands of followers. If they're saying negative, I would not do this. He says, I heard this one guy yesterday. I can't remember his name, but he's on Facebook, and, I guess he's got quite a following and stuff like that. And I'm listening to his lives, and, and I'm listening to a lot of pundits out there, a lot of truthers out there that are, and they all have their, their platform and their opinions on things. And I just am finding so many holes in their opinions about certain situations and about the whole geopolitical climate that's out there. I'm just seeing hole after hole. I'm going, are they not getting the right information? I mean, there's so many things that are so clear out there. If we just look at it and see for what it's worth and see what it is, you'll be able to have a clear picture out there. And I just, for the life of me, cannot understand. Yes, Nasara and Jassara is real. Dog senses people way before we do. Yeah, absolutely. We have to have very, very strong intuition and see things. I mean, I think we're getting that. I think we're getting to that stage where we can, you can see people's problems. It's like that child yesterday, maybe 25, 22, and she was, she's a user, but, and but you got to help them. You just have to have that, that humanity, passion to try to help people no matter what situation they're in, especially if they're in the situation she was in. But you can see, her turmoil and her nightmares that she has to go through living in the world that she's living in. Yeah, well, July 4th, to wrap it up by July 4th, I think there's going to be some announcements, probably, Trumpo is going to announce that the currencies and how we're going to be changing things over from the old fiat currency to the new currency. So that's going to rattle a lot of libtard chains. They're going to lose their mind. What's coming June 24th? I hear the EBS, maybe. Could be. I know there's, the military's putting out rates and dates and all this other stuff, but I'm not going to play into that. It is going to happen when it happens. I just want to get into something here, okay? Now, I just want to say and I want to say this to all the liberal lefts and the people out there that have TDS, okay? Trump derangement syndrome, okay? TDS. You people listen up here very closely. If it wasn't for Trump, the 3.9 billion people on the planet would have been removed in any way, means, form, down to 500,000. There was only 3.9. Somehow there's about 1 billion Chinese missing somewhere. And along with other very, very serious stuff going on. And, these medical warfare and, weather warfare and everything else has taken, millions of lives, not to mention the trafficking going on. We've had assault on us for many, many decades from the criminalized, corrupt governments. Not one government out there is on your side. Each government before Trump was highly complicit in wiping out their citizens. We have 3.9. Let that sink in, please. 3.9 billion people. In that, we have a pile of NPCs and clones that have been brought up. And to, go on the street, and they only, like I say, have a shelf life of about 3 to 4 years, and then they start glitching out, and then they either drop dead or drop out of action, and then they get picked up. All the geopolitical pundits, I've been seeing, like I said, have holes coming in it, so we don't know what to trust, who to trust, and don't believe anything you're saying right now. As truthers are out there, you can listen to them, watch them, but be very, very critical. Keep your antennas going, keep their antennas up there, and question everything, okay? Especially in the financial world. What do I think the big deception is? Well, it's everything that's going on right now. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Looking at the deception, it's everything that's going on, especially with the G7 that's going on right now. They're keeping everybody's eyes over here while things are being played, in the financial district. I know that there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the financial arena around the world. And they're keeping everybody's mind on this conflicts around the world, right? Now, Trump was talking to Putin, and Putin's not very, very happy because he says he's going to go after the supplier of all the drones that have been attacking his Russian Christian people inside Russia. And who was making those drones? Take a wild guess. And supplying Canada. Our leadership, our liberal leadership, the NAZI controlled leadership inside Ottawa has been making drones to give to Ukraine and sending those drones over to Russia. You know what? Canada is going to get a very, very serious kick in the ass. And you know what? Trump's going to just wash his hands. Trump said it himself. He said after talking to Putin, he says, you just wait. You just wait and see what happens with this one. So I would say what I think is going to happen is that Russia will send supersonic missiles over the top, and he will guide those suckers right into all our demonic symbol locations, wherever they may be, bunker systems and everywhere else. So if you are where you think you should be or should not be, let's just say something, Canada, prepare your ass, because I believe Putin is not going to stand for this much longer. When you have a rogue country such as Canada doing the NAZI agenda for Ukraine and Zelensky's NAZI operations that are happening over there, being run by the NAZIs and the called UN or NATO, you guys are done. You have not just poked the bear, you've cut him. You've cut him. And that bear is pissed. I just want to let everybody know that, on June 19th, I saw this coming 2 weeks ago when I seen this coming, and it's just going to heat up. So Canada, prepare for an ass kicking. All right? And I'm in the West, and, there will be a point. I mean, I've got my plane booked, but there might be a complete shutdown inside Canada that nobody flies in or flies out in the coming days. All right? I am very concerned because I'm able to see what is in the belly of the beast right now. And you are not just poking the bear, you are cutting him. And for a Christian, so-called Christian nation to be bombing another Christian nation, we are being led by, REPTILES. That's what we're being led by. That is the deceptions going on right now. Everybody's looking around at all this conflict and everything going on. I believe that there's the money, financial systems, and that money that is being moved around and agreed to and signed by many, many different countries right now. They will crash the dollar in each country. That will force all the banks on the planet to shut down, because that's all they deal with. That's all they deal with is the dollar. And I'm going to say Canada right now and their leadership is on the wrong side of history. And we're going to have to live with this as Canadians for many, many generations. This has blackened the eye of Canadians for eternity. Because when shit hits the fan, which it has, and it will hit harder, Canada will be in the center of this fiasco. They're going to be in the center of it, supplying first billions and billions of our own money in the tune of $65 billion from our own taxpayers' pockets. And we're allowing that to be sent over to Zelensky and his gang of thugs so they can go buy boats and, all kinds of yachts down in Monaco. And then the rest of it was being, and they said, no problem, we're going to start sending you equipment. Even though NATO doesn't have any money left, even though UN doesn't have any money left, that's okay. Canada, we will build you drones so you can attack the enemy. I mean, how wrong are we? I am so ashamed to be called a Canadian right now. So ashamed. And why I'm saying that and I don't care what kind of feedback I get, that we're going to get our ass kicked, and we have it coming to us, because we have allowed this to happen by allowing these psychopaths in office to allow this shit to go on the way it is. It's absolutely criminal. I just hope that Trump can get control of Canada down in the Ottawa area, and stop this drone making operations, and the why doesn't I would hope that Trump should start taking out the ships that are sending those. Why don't we just stop the supplies right now? And but I think Trump wants Russia to he wants them to piss all over Canada. I think that's why Trump's not getting involved in it. That's what I think is what's happening. Yeah, down here in Quebec, it's gray, but I'm sure everything's gonna burn off. Yeah. Summer's coming. Cyprus is still asleep. Yes, I know. Canada is too. I mean, we're like a bunch of zombies. And they put us in that position, or put a lot of people in this position. They have, because of taxes and the food and whatever they were doing, keeping everybody broke. I go into the mall and there's only half the shops that are there. There's only, businesses are only running, there's 50% vacancy in the malls. And you'll never see that in the Philippines. Everyone's packed. They even got kiosks down the middle, one after another, kiosks in the center of the aisles, all over the place. I mean, that country's booming. And I don't blame Canadians running to the islands, because they certainly can't live on $2,000 a month here. I hope all that changes, because if they want to take their libtardism over there, it's not going to fly. And I'm going to warn all you expats from Canada or anywhere else in the world, you keep your goddamn politics to yourself, because I'll be the first one to call you out. Well, like I says, this thing is already done. I think what Trump is wanting to do is give Canada a spanking from Russia, a big spanking from Russia, slap the shit out of us, and then they'll say, okay, and then of course the sleepers and the zombies will say we need help, and when Trump does sign the annex for Canada, everybody will be standing up cheering for it to happen, so they can there's a lot of mental cases in Canada, and same with all over the place. Like I said, we only got 3.9 million or 3.9 billion people on the planet. And I'll bet you 30% of them are NPCs and sleepers and maybe even clones. Who knows? Well, let me tell you something here. Let me just get into something here. Okay, let me go over the paperwork here first. Yeah. Let me just go through this. Trump says, yeah, there will be, after talking to Putin, there will be retaliation to Canada or whoever is supplying the drones, and that's Canada. The Zelensky is all over TV right now, one lie after another lie. Okay, it never stops. So I'm going to talk to you about silver and gold. Just give me a second here to get fired up. There are lots of things going on. Now, from what I understand, what is coming out of the military news is that when this is all said and done, now, let me just go back here. Okay, so I just have to run through this stuff here. Okay, now, Bin Laden, or the body double, I'm going to go back into a little bit of history here, okay? Because I like to get through all this. So, Bin Laden, or his body double, whatever it was being laid in or put into Iran for hiding. And then Obama made a deal with the mullahs in Iran to relocate bin Laden to Pakistan. Okay? Pensway, whatever it was. So he had that big compound that was there. Obama knew where he was, so he brought in the SEAL Team 6 to go in there and take him out, blah, blah, blah. And, the rest is history. But the mullahs were threatening after he did all this and took all the credit because he wanted to get the votes, because it was coming up to election time. He wanted to get the votes. So, and mullahs knew this, so they threatened to, tell to everybody and, tell the powers to be that this is what Obama's scheme was after taking him out, whatever. And they ended up embezzling or blackmailing him for $1.5 billion. That's why that money was sent on pallets after pallet after pallet over to Persia. Okay, over to Iran. That was the reason behind that one. And of course, I feel bad, and we all should put our prayers in there for the families and the SEAL Team 6 that was sacrificed for that event.